And in light of what's happening, let's also examine one of India's most misunderstood concepts, secularism. The argument right now is that India's secular structure is facing a profound crisis. It is. But did our constitution ever declare India as secular? Do you know that after much debate, the word secular was dropped from the preamble? And that debate is worth revisiting. Let's start with the definition of what it means to be a secular state. In theory, it says that governments ought to have no religious connections, nor anything to do with matters of religious belief or ritual, which begs the question, was India ever a secular nation? I'd like to believe yes, but let's delve into history. November 15, 1948, India was in the midst of a debate on the nature of the constitution. There was an intervention demanding the inclusion of the word secular in our preamble. And why not? India was on the path to follow the ideals of democracy. Secularism was deemed the most essential, but there was ambiguity on its terminology in the Indian context and also on the extent of its applicability. Let me quote a few lines by Loknath Mishra from this debate. I'm quoting, "I thought that the secular state of partitioned India was the maximum of generosity of a Hindu-dominated territory for its non-Hindu population." That's what he said. It's a matter of record. There was another argument by the Vice President of the Drafting Committee, H.C. Mukherjee. Let me quote again. "If your idea is to have a secular state, it follows inevitably that we cannot afford to recognize minorities based upon religion." Now, Nehru and Ambedkar, they were strongly committed to the ideal of secularism. It is a known fact. And yet, when it came to including the word secular, these two were the biggest opponents. Here's what Nehru said. "None of us can say in his heart of hearts that he has no prejudice and no taint of communalism in his mind or heart." Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, in a country where rulers and religious publics had been interfering from time to time, as a historian noted, wouldn't it have been better to not use the term at all than to use it fraudulently? That's one of the arguments that was made. In order to follow secularism in its truest form, there cannot be any kind of religious interventions. Reservation is one such. Protection of Muslim personal law, or any personal law for that matter, is another. Even the directive principle to protect cows. But our constitution still went ahead with this. The word secular was dropped from our preamble. Only adhering to secular principles was agreed upon. But at the same time, the Muslim personal law was retained. So were these other measures. But secularism did come to India in writing through a constitutional amendment. The year was 1976. Indira Gandhi was at the helm. The 42nd Amendment of the Constitution was passed. The 20-page-long document gave unprecedented powers to the Parliament. Changes were made to India's constitution, starting with the description itself. From a sovereign democratic republic, India became sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic. We know what followed. A never-ending debate over the applicability of the word secular, the problematic ways in which it has been used in Indian politics, double-speaking by double-dealing politicians. What we are seeing today is a result of this. Secularism is a great idea, one that most of us have grown up feeling proud of, and yet it remains an unsettled debate, a concept that caused confusion and could not find consensus. There needs to be a public debate on what secularism means in the Indian context. It needs to be developed in a way that suits all Indians. What we are seeing on the streets today is also the manifestation of this confusion and perceived wrongs.